Welcome to CodeRush Feature of the Week. So Mark, what have we got this week?
Rory, this week we're going to dive deeper into creating your own custom templates.
Excellent.
Template creation. So let's get started. I want to create a template that copies over my fields from one instance of a class to another. So, for example, I'm inside of a paint shape class. It's abstract, but I want this to work on descendants as well. I want to be able to take these fields and assign them from another class that I pass in. It's kind of like a clone, but I'm not doing a create. I could turn this into a clone by calling this function afterwards as well, right? I could create a clone method pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
you're kind of imprinting on another instance.
So let's write the code first so we kind of get a sense of what that looks like. I'm going to create a method. We're going to call this copy fields like this. And it's going to take an instance of the type that I'm in, which is paint shape, like that. And it'll look something like that. Inside of it, it's going to have code that's going to look like this. Paint shape dot left equals, or let's say copy fields 2. We'll change the name of that. Is equal to this dot left, for example, like that. And then paint shape dot top is equal to this dot top, right? So you can get a sense of what the code is. The more fields I have, the more code I have to write, right? It goes on and on and on.
This is pretty simple, but if you have 25, 30 fields, maybe this would get ridiculous to have to write manually. We'd like a tool to help us.
Especially if this is the kind of thing we're going to do throughout our architecture, more than once, copying fields from one object to another. So this is what I want to turn into a template. So I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. I'm going to go into the CodeRush Code Templates dialog, and I'm going to say I want to create a new template. Let's actually go up right into my custom right here. We'll create a new template here, brand new one. We're going to call this FCopy for field copy. Okay, that's our template name. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just paste that code. Now the formatting isn't right, the indentation's all wrong, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep it like this and just hit OK, just so we can see it and see it working right now. Type in FCopy, and there it is. So it kind of gets me started in this class, but if I were to come over into another class and type in FCopy, it would be like, if I type in FCopy, it would be completely wrong. This is not going to help us at all. Okay, so we want to make it so we want to improve it, is what we want to do. Let's go back in, let's look at the template. And so one of the things we can do is we can start by taking this right here, this paint shape, and we can turn it into the actual class name of the class that we're in. And to do that, I can just right click it, choose Insert String Provider, and String Provider, this will give you a window that lists off a whole bunch of string generating intelligent providers that we ship with CodeRush. So for example, if I were to type in the word type like this, it would filter it out, and one of the options there is type. And this is the name of the active type containing the caret. You can see in the hint right below the mouse. So I want that. I'm going to say OK. And now it's replaced that with this call to the string provider. String providers have the double angle brackets that delimit them and are preceded by a question mark. And they essentially give you a string back. And this is the name of the string provider. By the way, some can optionally accept parameters if you want to. So you can pass parameters to those that accept them. The other thing, I want to make this maybe a little more generic. I want to just call this item, I think. I'm going to change that to item and this to item. And if we have time, I'll show you how to automatically generate that so you get a good variable name based on the type that you're in. But for now, we'll do that. So we got copy fields 2. I'm also going to change the indentation here. Even though it came out correctly when we expanded it, I just want to be able to see it correctly inside of here. So we've got that. Let's just test to see if that works right there. So I'm going to click OK, and we're going to come in here. We're going to type in FCopy. And there you can see it correctly got paint shape. Let's switch over into our ellipse shape down here and type in FCopy. And it correctly gets ellipse shape. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're getting a step closer. Okay, Roy, so next let's handle the code that generates this, right? We want a line of code for every field that is inside of the current class we're in.
Yeah, so we're going to need some kind of iteration there then, aren't we?
We are. And fortunately, there's an iteration that we give you, an iterator text command available through this dropdown here, and it's called for each. So we can just...
Fantastic name, good.
So
nice and easy to find.
We can insert that at the place where we want everything to run. And by the way, if you bring up the, if you go into the online documentation for this and you go into CodeRush extensibility, custom templates creation and iterating through elements, you'll be able to learn about for each and what it takes, what parameters it takes. The essence of it is it takes two parameters. One is the iteration bounds, which include an optional visibility, an item to iterate over, a keyword in, and a scope. So we want to iterate over fields. We don't really care about visibility. We'll take all of them. So we just want to say field in, and then we want to choose the scope as this, which means the active class. So we're going to come in here, we're going to add open and close parentheses, and we're going to say for each field in this. And then the second parameter is the name of the template you want to execute for each one of these. For me, when I'm calling out to templates like this, templates that I won't type in, but I do need to call from other templates, I like to make sure that there's no way there'll be collision with anything I accidentally type in. So I want to give this a very meaningful name, and I also preface it and end it with the hash symbol or the pound sign. So I'm going to call this maybe assign field, like this.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, we're never going to know the types of programming projects that we'll be involved in, and there's every possibility that you might find yourself typing the phrase assign field in the name of some method or indeed in a comment someplace. So to put the pound sign around it, much less a chance of having to type that in the future and therefore accidentally expanding this. So this sort of reserves it for the purposes of being called by your own templates.
Exactly. Now let's create this template. So this template we're creating is going to be called for each field in the current class. So let's create that. We'll come up here, we're going to say new template. We're going to say assign field like that and pop it in there. And now the code that we want for this, I'm just going to grab this right here as my sample code. I'm going to delete these and delete that. And we'll come up over here and we're going to paste that in. Now, this is where we want to actually use the individual elements that we're iterating over. And to do that, we need to use get item name. So this is a call, as you can see here, Rory. Look, it's got the double angle brackets, the question mark.
That's right.
That's a string.
So this is a string provider.
Yeah? Yes, a string provider. And its parameter is the variable item name. So we're going to use that. And so we're going to say get item name here and paste it in there as well, get item name. Okay.
So presumably the way this works is that the higher level for each is doing a set on item name immediately prior to calling each version of this template here.
It is, exactly. Set is another string provider that you have access to that allows you to set values to variables. So pretty cool stuff. Now with this, let's just try this right now as it is. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say fcopy and let's see what we get. And we get everything on one line.
So technically operational code, but maybe not the best looking.
Right, exactly. So let's fix that. Let's see what do you think we might change to fix it so it's not all on one line?
Well, usually my guess would be that we're missing some kind of carriage return.
Yeah, and if I click down here, it doesn't show me there's anything else. If I come up here and I hit enter, now I've added a carriage return. Now this is actually, what you just saw is actually very cool because it allows you to do a for each and call a template a whole bunch of times on one line if you ever want to do that, right? So you still have that ability. And if you don't, it's easy enough to just add a carriage return. So now let's do that change. We'll click OK. We'll come down inside here. We'll type in fcopy like this and expand it. And there we go. So not bad,
nice.
Right? We get everything all the way down here. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. Let me show you, let's take this to another level. Let's go, I wanted to show you this piece right here, get item type. This is another system variable that's set for you as we make that call. So let me show you that. Let's go back up into code templates And what I want to do is here on the end, I want to just add a comment. I'm going to paste in that call to the get string provider asking about what's the value of variable item type. We're going to click OK. And we're going to come in here and we are going to expand it again, fcopy.
And now that's interesting. We saw before, obviously, how the item name was clearly the name of the thing that we're iterating through. So in case of fields, we have left, top, right, bottom. But here we've got item type as well. So the thing that's being passed in is actually a pair of objects, the physical name of the item and its type, which we now get to emit here as further kind of useful information surrounding our code.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, by the way, let's say, for example, that you had some problem bad data, okay? And it was saved out in the world and we wanted to fix it and convert it. We wanted to create a function that fixed the bad data wherever it was. And so what we're going to do, what we want to do instead is instead of color being in RGB, it was stored in BGR. In other words, the green was correct, but the R and the red and the blue were swapped. And so what we'd want to do whenever we see color is do something very, very special. All right. And so let's look at that. So let's come back up into our template. We'll come back into the options dialog and we'll look at assign field here. So what we want to do now is we want to make a decision. We want to have this template work in normal situations, but if it's a color, we want to do something different. So to do that, I'm going to right click on our assign field template and I'm going to choose create alternate expansion. And I'm going to come in here, I'm going to copy this code, at least for now, and paste it in. But now what I want is I want code that looks a little different. I want this to be R. We'll start here, but then we're going to swap R and swap the red and the blue is what we'll do. So we'll say, in fact, I'll just do this. I guess we could arguably do this, but then somebody's going to be like, what about alpha? So we'll do this and we'll see what we get. We're gonna assume alpha's, although it says, we want to switch these two. So R is equal to blue and blue is equal to R, okay? And we're going to put a comment out here that says swap R for swap red for blue, like that. Okay, and I think I want to do this in this kind of order right here, and maybe do this here and get rid of this comment here. Green was always good. Like that. Swap red for blue and swap blue for red, something like that. So now we've got a kind of a detailed fix comment for our data problem that we were talking about. Now we want this to be called if the item type, right, this system variable right here, if that variable, I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard, is equal to color.
Sure, yeah. So
we can set up a context to do that. In fact, let's do that now. So we're going to come in here, we're going to say this, click there, type in variable matches is what we want to grab. We want to grab variable matches context. This takes two parameters. The first parameter is the variable name, and the second parameter is the piece we want to match it to. So if variable matches color, then let's do this. However,
okay, so let's just slow down 1 second here. We've talked about string providers, which essentially are functions that return strings. We've used that to get a few interesting things going on. This is a context. This is going to return a Boolean. It's going to do a check. Is this thing true or is this thing false? And if it's true, in this particular case, it's going to qualify us to use this template instead of the other expansion.
Exactly.
Now, this particular one, variable matches, is taking a variable which is known to be in memory, which is the item type in this case. It's going to check the content of that, and obviously it's a string variable because it's being passed into templates, and it's going to be compared with the literal string of color. So that if we happen to be operating on a type which is color, then we're going to qualify true, we're going to pass that context test, and we're going to expand this template here that you see instead of the one that has no context.
Right. The only trick, the only thing we have to change before we click OK is this template has to come higher in the list than this one.
Okay.
This has no context, which means it'll always be satisfied. We'll never get down to here. So to do
order's important. It's the first qualifying template in this case.
Right. So we want to select this one, come over here, click that to increase the priority of it, and then click OK. And if we do that and we haven't made any mistakes, now when we come in here and we type in fcopy and the space bar, you should see something along these lines right here. And so, oh, we can't assign, it's read only. That means we have to do something more intelligent, right? So we're going to say, let's do that. Let's fix it, right? So the real code is going to be, what is it? It's going to be color dot from ARGB, and then we're going to pass in the pieces in the right order here. So we're going to say this dot color B, which is this dot color G, and this dot color red. So we're swapping the orders right there. The A is also going to need to come in here as well. And hold on, I'm like, no, that's all right. That's all good. Okay, and then this is going to be A.
I think that's right
there. Okay, and then let's just have one simple comment at the out of it. That is code that works. Looks like it works. Put that there. Copy that whole thing to the clipboard now, and that's going to be the code that we're going to put in there. So let's go back into the templates. Select the first one right here. And fix this right here. And so we're going to say this and this as well. All of these color references here have to change. And that's now our code. So I'm going to put an enter down there. We're going to say, okay, we are going to prove that this works by creating a second color field. All right, so let's go find the original one. There it is right there. I'm going to hit Shift Enter on it to do a duplicate field on it. We'll call it color 2, or let's call it something completely different like background. Okay, like that. And so again, we'll come in here. We're going to type in fcopy. Okay, so fcopy like this. And now we should see there. It's built.
There we go.
And check it
Excellent.
out. We've got our special.
No compile errors. Got every single field mentioned. The special processing for color.
Exactly. All right, so that's it. So what did we look at? We looked at setting up context. Context allows you to decide if it makes sense for the template to expand. On fcopy, for example, we can use one of my favorite contexts. We can come in here and we can say I think there's an in class. There it is right there. We can say in class as our context. So this will only expand if we're in a class, but I can also do Boolean operations with my context. So I can type in a double ampersand in there and come in and say something like, look for in member, grab that, but then I'm going to put a not symbol in front of it. So I can say if in class and not in member, and I could keep going and not in, keep going all the way like that.
The more contextual information you give there, the narrower you make the circumstances under which it will expand, which also then allows you to write additional templates that maybe overlap in naming terms, but would suit other circumstances better, meaning you have to learn less, you have to remember less.
Right. So if I wanted to have a fcopy that worked under a different context or maybe in a completely different project, I think I'm typing the word project here. Project is WPF project, for example, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And I think I can also come in here and do references is namespace references. So I can create templates that might work differently depending on where we are. So for example, this fix right here, that might only happen if we're referencing a particular namespace as well. That sort of thing. So context, we learned about context. We learned about string providers, right? There's that string provider there. We looked at the string provider here, the call to get, and we can use other ones as well. We can in addition to these, we can come in and grab any of them when we right click from here and choose string provider. Any of these pieces.
I was going to say, it's well worth having a good look through those string providers. There's some very useful stuff in there. The search bar, again, also very handy just for narrowing things down. So we talked today about the type you are in, the type where this method that you're about to generate exists. But if you're generating something within a method, particularly a function that returns something, you can get the return type as well.
Yep.
That's just an alternative thing. And there's loads in there. Have a little look around, see what you can find, because there's so much you can do with this.
There is. And we learned about text commands as well. Text commands are things that can do things like iterate, for example. or format or set up links, that sort of thing. So that's it, Rory. That's a little bit deeper dive into templates.
That's fantastic, Mark. I'm sure just the tip of the iceberg, but it is so useful in so many situations. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week on CodeRush Feature of the Week.
For more Feature of the Week videos, click one of the 2 video links on screen or select from our playlist. Download and learn more about CodeRush from the DevExpress website. And be sure to subscribe to our channel to receive all the latest CodeRush feature videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.